This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
The man, the myth, the legend. How you feeling, Manny? You feeling good?
Feeling better. I was able to get some sleep this morning. I was basically up to about 4 after the game on Saturday working, and then got up early yesterday, was working all day. So my wife was like, why don't you sleep in? You look a little cranky. So I slept in this morning while the kids went to school. So I feel better.
Good, man. Good stuff. And it's fun, man. It's fun to watch what we saw the other night, and for the Canes to pick up a victory like that against a team that was considered better, more physical, a team that everybody was worried about if they could handle, and to control that running game, to allow that defensive line to not really bother the quarterback all night. There were a lot of things that were so positive about this game. They could run the ball on them. They couldn't run on Miami. They pressured the quarterback. They didn't really get to pressure Miami's quarterback. A lot of the stuff when we talk about the line of scrimmage, that battle, that was really nice to watch between the Canes and Notre Dame.
No, it was. And really, I just tweeted out a stat that I thought was probably the biggest stat of the game, and that was protecting the quarterback. And, Carson Beck was only under pressure 6 times the whole game, which 6th best among all the Power 4 quarterbacks in week 1. And you think about it, none of the guys that he went up, none of the other quarterbacks went up against a team like Notre Dame with a defensive front like that. So that shows you
the those guys are going to be playing on Sundays, bro. They stopped a couple of NFL defensive linemen from pressuring Beck. That's huge, dude. Huge.
Yeah, that Boubacar Traore guy is the one dude who was able to beat Francis Mauigoa to get to create the 1 sack on, and he looks like a beast. I mean, that kid is unreal. He'll be playing on Sunday. So that was really the game. I mean, they didn't run the ball all over Notre Dame. They didn't put. I mean, they averaged under.
But they ran the ball.
But they ran the ball when they needed to. Right?
Yeah.
They set themselves up perfectly to kick the game-winning field goal there and to basically exhaust Notre Dame of timeouts. And I know, look, I was sitting there doubting the game plan as well. I thought, listen, you got Carson Beck. You've been able to have some success. Why aren't you trying to get the first down here through the air? But Mario had faith in his guys. And, look, they ran the clock down, and it worked. So
I had no problem with the field goal. I had no problem with the field goal. I may have a problem with the field goal in the second half of the year if your offense is grooving and you're moving and everything. But on that night, you're new. Everybody, you got you new receivers, a new quarterback, you got a new defensive coordinator, all this. There's so much new going on, and your offense wasn't really humming or anything. You know what I mean? You made enough plays, but you weren't humming. And for people to assume to pass up that field goal that you were going to convert, what happens if you don't convert? Because after you kick that field goal, they score, and then you didn't answer back. So it's not like your offense is humming or anything like that. You take those points, and the way your defense was playing, it wasn't like it was last year's defense.
Right.
No, dude, this defense was showing up on that night. And I know that was on the postgame show that I did, it was a huge controversy. There's a bunch of people that were still bothered by, his conservative ways. You know what? I know he's conservative, but in this case, that was the smart move to take the 3 points. The way everything was balanced, I was good with that decision.
And listen, he obviously knows these guys a lot better than we do, but let's also not confuse the facts. This kid, the kid who kicked the winning field goal was 4 of 11 in his career at FAU on field goals before those 2 kicks on Sunday night. So he obviously had faith in him. I think a lot of us were wondering, man, are you really going to put it down on a kid who just got here from FAU? But that's why you're the head coach. That's why you make those decisions, and it paid off for Mario. And you have to give him his kudos. Whether or not you agreed with his approach, it paid off with a win. In years past, it didn't, but this time it did. And you ride with your coach when he makes the right decisions, and you win the game.
Dude, he won the game. To go against it, there's no guarantee you would have won the game.
Right.
There's no guarantee, because if you don't convert, now you left 3 points on the field. And by the way, remember, the muff screwed up another 3 points.
Right.
So overall, I felt really good about what they did. And I told you this last year, and that's why I think this year I've given them the benefit of the doubt. I think Mario grew up a little bit last year. And we've talked about this already a couple times, and we'll mention it to other people that haven't heard it. But when he allowed his offensive coordinator and his quarterback to be themselves last year, that was so unfreaking Mario like. And so that tells me that he got to a point where he was comfortable with them doing their thing and the guys that were there. When he gets comfortable with Beck and the young receivers and everybody, he will allow them a little bit more leeway as the season goes on. But in that moment, I thought that that was the right move. And I don't believe he'll be Mr. Conservative like he's been in his past and all. Like what he did with Ward, he didn't do with his guy at Oregon.
Right. That's growth. That's coaching growth. You're 100% right. He didn't let Justin Herbert throw out over the yard.
No, Herbert ran practically more than he threw the ball at Oregon. That would frustrate me because I was like, bro, doesn't this guy have a cannon? You don't let him throw more. It was like weird, but Mario loves a running game and all that, and he was a weapon in that sense, and so that's how he did it. But with Cam Ward, he let him do that, and to me, I thought that was monster growth by Mario. So the people that are trapped in that, oh, he's always going to be conservative, I don't believe that anymore. I believe that he is willing to open it up if that player shows it. And I think we'll see it with Beck and company as they grow and get better.
For sure. And look, yesterday or Sunday rather was probably the best opponent you're gonna face all season. But I'll say this: Miami's going to face some better tests down the road, and certainly, we saw some results this past week to give you some idea that some of these opponents, earlier on in the year, USF, Florida State, those are better teams than we thought they were going to be on paper, and so we're going to get plenty of opportunities here throughout this year. I think this is a much tougher schedule than the one Miami faced last year when they had Cam Ward in the number one offense. So I think we're going to see a lot of situations where Mario is going to have to make decisions in games to be aggressive or be conservative to try to get the win. And I think as long as you keep that 0 at the end of your record, nobody's going to care how you did it. And I think fans are going to start to grow with Mario as that happens.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, man, to watch. And for Malachi Tony,
yeah,
I mean, it was a show of Malachi's because there was another Malachi on the other
Field,
side. Yeah, doing his thing. Although great forced fumble on him by the Canes defense, and that was actually really, really cool too. But Malachi Tony, bro, I mean, that's pretty special for a 17-year-old.
Yeah, and really, I mean, the coaches felt really, really good about Tony and the way you heard them talking in the preseason about them, about the receivers and the confidence they had. I think, they felt like he was capable of this, but you really don't know until the bullets start flying, right? You really don't know until you get in the game whether or not a kid is going to shrink in the moment. And people forget he's only 17 years old. He reclassified from this year's graduating class. He's supposed to be a senior this year at Plantation American Heritage, but in terms of his talent and ability, I mean, people were saying, look, he could be another Santana Moss. He could be another, game-breaking type talent, but he's still only 17 years old. So until you see them go out there and do it, and he did it against the best secondary, arguably the best trio of returning starters in the country for a secondary. So I thought it was really impressive what he did. I thought it was really impressive what CJ Daniels did. Here's a guy that was underutilized at LSU last season, or felt underutilized anyway by that coordinator over there, and comes over here and instantly makes a huge impact with that one-handed catch. And Mario talked about wanting to get this guy in the transfer portal for 2 years. So look, the receivers were my number one question on offense, and in the end, they answered the bell against what I thought would be their toughest test all season. So my confidence in that unit has grown. I needed to see it. I needed to see it myself before I bought in. You can hear it from the coaches, but you got to see it on game day. And to me, I've got faith now that they've got two legitimate guys at the wide receiver position who can deliver.
Yeah, it looks like it at least. That catch by CJ Daniels was just absolutely freaking sick. Did they come away clean? It looked like injury-wise.
Jordan Lyle, I think, got nicked up early.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That
That's
game.
right. He said he got nicked up. Yes. That's
Yeah,
right.
and I would suspect that he won't play this week against Bethune-Cookman.
Bethune-Cookman, bro. Come on.
There's really no need. You can give him another day of rest. Although I Josh Darrow, who's the sideline reporter for QAM, I always listen to the radio broadcast because it's the only place you're going to get sideline reports on injuries. So I always listen to. That's my little cheat code. And Darrow said that the trainers apparently cleared him to return. Mario just decided to ride with Marty Brown and Mark Fletcher, which is the smart thing to do when those guys are getting the job done and not fumbling. So I think this is probably an opportunity to give him a week of rest. It's a short week, and let some of those other freshmen and guys that never get to play eat on Saturday against Bethune-Cookman.
Yeah, dude, it's a bye week this week. Give me a break. They could win that game asleep. Last night, that was bro. I mean, I gotta tell you, Manny, I pulled the move of all moves. TCU's favored by 3.5, and I go, you know what, bro? Let me wait for the live line. Let me see first of all who's going to receive. Because if TCU is going to receive, I'm going to lay the bet right now 3.5 and the money line. I think the money line was minus 120. And I go, but if North Carolina receives, if they start driving and they cross midfield, then the algorithm starts lowering the number already,
Yeah.
And sure enough, they scored. So I went from minus 3.5 to plus 2.5 for TCU.
Wow.
So
easy money.
Exactly. And so while all these people, the Belichick start, I'm like, bro, this is fantastic. TCU is easily going to come back from this. So I ended up getting plus 110 on the money line instead of minus 120, and I got plus 2.5. It was at plus 3.5 for a second. I just couldn't hit the button fast enough, and the thing disappeared into the lock like it does in the Hard Rock app.
Yeah,
and then it came back at 2.5 plus 2.5, and I said, hell yeah, baby, let me take that shit. And then the rest is history after that. So the live, you gotta take advantage of the live betting, bro. Sometimes I just waited to see who was receiving first and foremost, because I knew if TCU was going to receive, they could take an early lead, and then the line then really explodes, and then I'm out, and then that sucks. But last night, dude, we saw with Shula. The game does pass you by at times. It looked like it was passing him by in the NFL. Well, let me tell you something. College football, you know it better than I do. That shit is light years ahead of what college football was 10, 20, 40 years ago. Maybe 40 years ago, Belichick was going to be good for college football. Today's college football, a 75-year-old fart, I just can't see you keeping up with this. And when I saw that, it just looked like an old man with his old ways. And that's not going to fly in today's college football. Your thoughts?
It really isn't. And look, the NFL, you have a draft every year that can save you, right? You're able to pick players. You don't have it the other way around where you got to convince them to come play for you. So to me, that's what makes college so much more difficult, because now, yes, money is involved, and you've got a salary cap, and you've got X amount of money that you can spend, and other schools can outspend you. But you also got to be able to recruit, and if you don't have a recruiting foundation, you're screwed. And I think we saw that with North Carolina, because 70 new guys on that roster. You knew a lot of those guys were going to be misses. I mean, his personnel staff, they get hired in January. Most of these people already have identified their free agents in September of who they're going after, the kids that are sitting on the bench not playing. So you're 4 months behind at the start of this in terms of scouting. Then you get in there and, the best players are all gone. You end up having to take a quarterback from South Alabama to be the number one guy for you. So, look, I don't know. He's 73 years old. I think he did this ultimately to get his son a job more than anything else. And it's a fun story. But I think
for us, the train wreck is going to be awesome to watch. It's awesome to watch, dude.
It is if you're a Dolphins fan for sure. But I think look, if you're a North Carolina fan, buckle up, man, because it's going to be a long season. It's going to be a long season.
And, some guy was still hopeful on Twitter with me. And I'm like, my brother, this is college football. With losing comes bitterness, comes transfers, comes, social media and all kinds of negativity and failed in recruiting and all that kind of stuff. This is something that is a ball that rolls down a hill, and it'll roll down the hill fast, and it'll grow bigger and bigger in college football fast as hell. These kids aren't going to have patience with you. They don't. They can go somewhere else. They're gone. Transfer portals are going to be loading up if they can get out of North Carolina. And that's the bad part for them, that today's college football, the player has so much freedom. That's the worst thing for Belichick and company right now.
At least in the NFL, you've got rookie contracts, you've got, different things that tie you to a team. It doesn't give you flexibility. In college football, you can sign with a college in December and in February change your mind and transfer and go somewhere else, and you're not going to sit out. I mean, the rules are just vastly different. He is at such a huge disadvantage. And I look, he's got NFL guys, Kitchens and Lombardi and all those guys. You're not going to become the 33rd NFL team because you say you are, right? Like, you're just not. I mean, look at Kalen DeBoer at Alabama, right? He had a job that was perfectly set up for him by the godfather of college football, and he's lost 4 games to unranked opponents here since he beat Kirby Smart in Georgia and looked like a genius. So it's not an easy job to have success in. I call it the hardest job in sports, being a college football coach, because expectations are through the roof, and you don't have the advantages that the NFL has. You do not have a draft, and you do not have rookie contracts and ways to retain players. Here, it's a free-for-all, and if you're not a good recruiter, you're shit out of luck.
That's funny. You and I agree, because I said being a college head coach is harder than the NFL. And Belichick
it's harder than any job.
Couldn't hang in the NFL. There's no way he's going to hang with Mario Cristobal, who's out texting and recruiting his ass, all over the place. Like, you think Bill's keeping up with players on texts and all kinds of stuff? And, hey, great job tonight in high school, this, that, or like, Mario's keeping up with some kid that he's recruiting somewhere in Georgia who just had a night where he had 3 sacks or whatever. And Mario's freaking sending him congratulations, and the kid's like, holy shit, you think Belichick's doing that stuff? No, bro, give me a break.
Mario ended that game on Sunday night, and he had 100 recruits waiting for him in a tent. Okay, I mean, and these are guys that are 2027, 2028 high school graduates. They have nothing to do with this next class. They're the future.
What a night for Mario, bro, to win to beat Notre Dame, and then, because that's we've talked about this over and over again. This is the final straw. You start winning these kind of games, you get into the ACC championship game, you win the ACC championship game, you get to the playoffs. Now all the top recruits are going to want to come here. All of them.
They are. And the excuses of, hey, you guys aren't winning, that's not going to fly anymore. Their parents will be like, why? You just beat Notre Dame. Right. They're paying you the same amount of money as Oregon and Texas, but we want to come see all your games. We don't want to have to get on a plane to go watch you, know? So that's going to be over. Look, the opportunity is there now. I told you, I think they got through their toughest opponent of the regular season. Florida's going to be a test. South Florida is going to be a better game than we thought. The trip to Tallahassee is not going to be as easy as, facing a 2-10 team, because it looks like Gus Malzahn has their act together over there on offense. So there'll be bumps in the road, I'm sure, and it won't be a perfect ride through the season, but there's no reason now in my mind they can't go 12-0.
Years ago, there was a famous quote by a college coach. And I'm not going to say the quote, but you'll remember the quote when I rephrase the quote now. Come after me. I'm a man. I'm broke at 60.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about now with Mike Gundy, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
He's crying poor now.
He's crying poor now because T-Boone Pickens is dead, and he apparently doesn't have the funding he used to have back in the day at Oklahoma State. So, listen,
can you explain to people what's going on with Mike Gundy? Because obviously I'm having some fun with it, but
yes,
I mean, that's kind of the new saying now, right? Come after me. I'm a man. I'm a broke 60-year-old. I mean, because that's what he's saying, but go ahead.
Yeah. Mike Gundy, for those of you who don't know, Oklahoma State played in the Big 12 championship 2 seasons ago. Last season, they had everybody on their team coming back. and then they went out and went 3-9, winless in the Big 12. Absolutely horrible. He got totally exposed for somebody who didn't know how to handle the transfer portal as far as a coach, a veteran coach, longtime coach. And now they're set to play Oregon here in week 2, and everybody knows Phil Knight and Oregon spend a buku bucks on players, and so Oklahoma State for many, many years with T. Boone Pickens and all the oil people out there in the state of Oklahoma, they were living well. I mean, Oklahoma State was overachieving a lot of years and getting to the Big 12 championship game and playing in bowl games consistency. But as you know, the game of college football has changed quite a bit here in the last few years with NIL and everything else. And so now Mike Gundy is crying and getting into a war of words with Dan Lanning at Oregon. And, Oregon's just kind of laughing and like saying, yeah, whatever, dude. Like show up, you're supposedly a Power 4 conference team. Show up and play Saturday and see what happens.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's for you to that's such a weak move on his part to cry poor now at this point. Like, give me a break, dude, and just make it excuses. I wonder if he's getting exposed over there in Oklahoma for that stuff. I don't know. You follow it more on a national basis, but
I think nobody's feeling bad for Mike Gundy because listen. Oklahoma State is still a Big 12 conference school, and he retained a lot of the players that he had going into last season and still went 3-9. So, at some point you got to take responsibility, right? You can't just keep passing the buck and listen, he's basically complaining about his donors and the people who've been giving him money and supporting him for all these years. I wonder where that support's going to go after they get their asses handed to them by Oregon on Saturday. I'm sure it won't be there. Instead of saying thank you guys for what you've done, he's basically spitting in their face saying it's not enough. But yet, who's given the budget to spend? Who's given the resources? Who's the chef in the kitchen? It's Mike Gundy.
I'm with you. And by the way, kudos to Phil Knight. Not so much about the Oregon football program, but he gave $2 billion to the Oregon Health and Science Knight Cancer Center for cancer research and stuff, and for patients and things like that. So while he takes care of his local football team, he also does some really good stuff with his money. So it's nice to see people giving back. $2 billion, dude, that's
a lot of these dudes give money away all the time, and people are unaware of it.
Yeah. So give Phil Knight a little credit that he is doing some good also with his money. And listen, whoever chooses, we've got people that are loading up the collective for Miami, and he's doing it for Oregon, and others do it for Texas and Ohio State and Alabama, and so be it. And it's up to Mike Gundy to go make new friends.
And it's up to Mike Gundy to spend smarter, right? They invested. He did a lot of interviews in the offseason about this, and I remember listening to a couple of them, and they invested it into the guys on their own roster, and that sometimes that's the bad investment. Sometimes you got to let a guy walk instead of feeling comfortable in his job, right? I think the one thing that you're trying to create in college football that you used to have automatically because guys couldn't transfer was a level of competition on your roster, and when you basically come back from a season like they did where they made it to the Big 12 championship game, and you got all these guys coming back, including Ollie Gordon, who's with the Dolphins now. You kind of set a dangerous precedent because those guys are like, we deserve the money. Look what we just did for you. We just took you to the Big 12 championship. So you just pay the kids that are coming back and you don't bring any competition in for them. Well, what do you get? You get a lazy atmosphere. And so that's on the head coach to recognize that and to say, hey, you know what? We're not going to pay this guy at right tackle who was average for us. We're going to go get a new guy who's going to come in here and make us better because losing in the Big 12 championship game wasn't enough. And we don't want guys getting comfortable around here. But, again, you talk about Belichick. Sometimes the game passes you by, bro. You're not ready for the new world that you're living in. And as a coach, look, I look at the guy at Arizona State, Dillingham. I mean, he is to me kind of the new version of the coach. You got to be a really good offensive play caller, know what you're doing on offense. You have to be able to recruit guys. You went from having the worst team in the Big 12 to all of a sudden winning the league last year. So young blood, man, sometimes that's what you need.
All right. By the way, what do you got going on in the Athletics so folks can check you out?
Well, I have my column off of Sunday night's game up for people to read. I also just did a national column on the whether or not it's time to hit the panic button for 6 of the teams in college football who lost over the weekend. I strongly feel this Notre Dame team, they're going to bounce back and be really, really good. I thought TJ Carr was really, really good on Sunday. So I think, it's going to bode well for Miami because you need the teams that you beat to do well to help you, when it comes to fighting for playoff positioning and seeding. And so that could help Miami get a top 4 seed if they're able to run the table and or even finish with 1 loss, but win the league. I think they still end up with the top 4 seed because of their win over Notre Dame.
Well, you've been handed right now. You're at number 5. So take care of business and you'll slowly eke up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a beautiful, just take care of business and you'll be fine and you'll be in the mix, which is a beautiful thing. This was the step that you had to take. If you lose this game, it puts a gray cloud over everything and we don't know where you're going and where you stand. Winning this game maybe shows that you are making the progress we were all expecting, and then now you can really take off and have the kind of year that everybody's been waiting for a long, long time, man. All right, follow him on Twitter at Manny_Navarro. Manny, as always, appreciate you, my brother. We will catch up on Friday.
Talk soon, brother. Take care.
You got it. There you go. Don't forget, this month, Sergei Bobrovsky will be at Caneswear Sunday, the 21st, 11:30 to 1 p.m. He'll be signing autographs, taking pictures, kissing babies, all kinds of stuff. So come on out to Caneswear. Use our code BIG-O10. You will get 10% off if you buy anything Panthers-wise, Heat, whatever, anything. But if you're going to see Bobrovsky, you got to buy Panther stuff and get him to sign it. Matthew Tkachuk will be there next month, October 8th. 6 to 7:15 p.m. And, of course, check out everything in Caneswear, man. They got anything and everything with the Canes logo on it. Miami Heat gear, Championship Panthers gear, Miami Marlins gear. What am I missing? Miami Dolphins gear. They got everything there, man. Go check it out and tell them that Big O sent you there at Caneswear.com.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.